Okay, here's we'll get this party started. Thanks for coming. I'll make some apologies because it didn't even occur to me till sometime today that I never sent out an announcement.
Oh.
So I could bear some of the burden of a small turnout tonight, although the normal Audubon, and that reaches a larger group of people, but maybe not the birder type specifically.
It's on Facebook,
Yeah,
just recently.
so my apologies because I could have reached maybe our target audience a little better, although I think there's a lot of overlap in our emails. So with that, we have Kate who's going to talk about the Great Backyard Bird Count this evening. But first we'll take care of some business, and Mary Ann's not feeling well, so she gave me a couple of things to cover. We just filled out with Kate's kind of pushing us to get it done as our secretary, did our annual report, reporting requirement, and sent it to National. And in the process of doing that, it asks the question of, did you make contributions to anything? And we kind of just on the spot decided that we would make a contribution to Australia World Wildlife Fund because of all the wildlife emergencies they're having, or the wildlife crisis they're having. And I can personally relate to it, and Sarah, you can too. You've seen the exact places that have burned in Eastern Australia, like from our first trip in 2014. But koalas and kangaroos are making getting on media because they're cute and large and you can see them, but lots of other things are being affected by these fires, and the entire ranges of species are being burned. So there's possibilities of extinctions of species, and Australia is just a fragile place anyway, with a lot of problems for their wildlife, with introduced pests and things like that. So anyway, it's a modest thing, but something that we could put our name to and make a donation. So we decided to do that. Upcoming talks, you've stepped into my spot tonight because I had a computer die, and I would have had a hard time putting together a good program for tonight on our Australia trip. So we traded nights, and so I'm going to do it next month, and Kate stepped up for this one. And then in March, Erin Cooper's going to talk about Panama and a trips she's made there, and I think she's going to talk about some of the bird work in the winter range and some of the international work that's being done for shorebirds in Panama.
Now, when is this?
That'll be in March.
In March?
March
Yeah.
24th, I think is the date.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Yeah. And then Pete quickly gave me a reminder that the Fish and Wildlife Service extended the comment period for the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge until what date?
5th of February.
5th of February. So for those that want to make comments about future management or hopefully preservation of the Arctic Refuge, you have till February 5th to do that. With that, I don't have any business things, but we always throw it out to anybody who's seen neat birds. I'll speak up for Steve Moffat, who kind of just nonchalantly told me that he saw a black-backed woodpecker out Power Creek, just past the culverts at Power Creek. And I started thinking a little bit. I go, and then I started doubting him, and I was starting to interrogate him a little bit, like, are you sure? And I might have offended him a little bit, but it's always good to be sure about things like this. But he got the field guide out while he was looking at it and is quite confident, and he's a good observer. So anyway, it sounds like there was a black-backed woodpecker just past the culverts on the Power Creek Road, which would be a first record for Cordova. They're found interior, but there are no records from Cordova. So that'd be a neat bird to look for if anybody's out Power Creek. Look on all those dead trees on the delta and beyond. It was just a little bit beyond, I think he said a couple hundred feet beyond the culvert. So when you're in that area, keep your eyes open. It'd be neat to get another look at it. Anybody else with any bird sightings? There's a couple things. Dana has seen the screech owl recently in Northern
You
Shrike.
saw Northern Shrike.
Yeah.
You put that up.
At 8 Mile.
Mhm.
Anybody else got anything?
I haven't seen it, but Diane tells me that the Anna's is still coming to her feeder.
Made it through the cold snap?
She's heading for the normal Hawaii here shortly, and I'll be going and checking her feeder for her once a
Okay.
week. So hopefully I'll see it.
Yeah.
Seems like there's more cattle around this year. There were 11 out at Kitty Cove area on the saltwater side.
Uh-huh.
And then there were 4 in Hardy Bay this afternoon.
Oh, neat.
Amongst all the mallards, 500 mallards.
Uh-huh. Well,
2 weeks ago, I saw 18 cattle up the leader.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
They're moving in.
yeah. And the Christmas bird count, I don't have the official results in front of me. We broke records on 3 species, green-winged teal, I think it was red-breasted merganser,
Right.
and I forget the third one. But they're birds, the records we broke are birds that should have migrated south, but because of the mild falls and winters we've been having, or especially this past one, didn't. So we got a lot more teal and red-breasted mergansers, and it's another waterfowl, and I'm forgetting which one it was. Even though most of our normal birds were pretty low counts, and our species count was around 60, I think. So that's where we ended up with the Christmas bird count.
Compared to Homer with 81 species.
Yeah.
New high record.
When will we do the big meeting where we go over all the worldwide counting?
We don't always do a summary meeting just for that. We have the potluck after the count where everybody compiles all their results. I can't remember. I think you were there for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we typically don't have a meeting on just talking about that or the results. Or have we in the past that you remember?
Seems like I sat
Yeah.
right here and watched, what the graph, but we might,
Yeah.
it might have been something.
And we've, like Taldy from Audubon, Alaska came down once and did give a talk about an overview of the count nationwide and stuff. We maybe have had, and maybe Max has done that. We maybe a couple times have had people from the state office come down and talk about the bigger picture.
Now, do they do the winter bird count in Australia, even though it's not winter there, obviously?
They do. They're mostly in the Americas, but they're holding counts like that in more and more places. I'm more familiar with in Central America and South America. They have Christmas bird counts, and
It just might be interesting to see the results of the next year's Australian Christmas bird
yeah,
count.
yeah, for different communities that are affected by fire and drought and stuff like that.
Objective,
Yeah,
quantitative analysis.
yeah.
Well, they don't do a count in Europe?
I don't know. I don't think I've heard of any references to that, but it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, that'd be something to look into. Yeah.
But I guess Audubon is pretty much started in the US, right?
Yeah. In fact, now I'm walking back on the Australia Christmas bird counts. I know I've heard of them in Central and South America, in Ecuador, at this one site that has super bird abundance. They get like 500 species on their count. It's crazy the numbers and the diversity they have in a small area. Yeah, we don't get that. We're lucky to get our 60. With that, there's another citizen science project, in addition to Christmas bird count, that National Audubon runs, and you're going to talk about, or is it more Cornell?
It's a joint Cornell, Audubon, and
She'll tell you.
Bird Studies Canada
Yeah.
program. So this is one of the oldest ones, along with the Christmas bird count, that Audubon and Cornell have run.
Which came first?
I think the Christmas bird count, but not by much.
I would think so. But I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
This one's a lot of fun. I used to do this one on my own when I lived out remote in Chiniga. So you can do this by yourself, with a group of people. You can look out your window. You can take a walk. You can go take a big long hike for miles. It's all what you would like to do, and it's over 3 days. And so this year it's going to be February 14th through the 17th, 2020, and I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know about how to participate in this bird count, and how to navigate the website and submit your data. So the main web page you want to go to is birdcount.org. Okay, and this is now global bird count. This is the 22nd annual Great Backyard Bird Count. And this is part of the eBird online checklist program. So anywhere in the world, you got internet, you can do this. Even on a mobile device, they now have an app that you can download. In all ages, all skills, you don't even have to be that great of a birder. Okay. So, and there's a brand new online course that you can take now that'll totally walk you through it, everything you need to know. It takes about an hour to complete, and it's free. It's called eBird Essentials. So it tells you the process of counting birds, how to plot your birding locations, how to report your species, and how to share your findings. Okay, so as I said, you can count wherever you like. It's a lot of fun if you can take some kids with you. They always get a kick out of it. Okay. In addition to accepting observations from anywhere in the world, you can use the eBird and Great Backyard Bird Count programs to keep track of your bird life list, your yard list, or any other lists for countries, states, provinces, and counties, which will be automatically stored and updated. You can explore what is being reported by others in your area and around the world, and you can keep on reporting your birds year-round through eBird. And I'll take you, after we go through the slides here, I'll actually go to the website and show you where you can click in and find all this information. It's really user-friendly, and they've added even more features this year than I've seen before. So you can always go back and edit any past reports that you get or make corrections, either directly through the Great Backyard Bird Count website during the count or directly in eBird after the count. And even after the Great Backyard Bird Count entry will be closed on March 1st, you can still go into your eBird and correct anything that you need to correct. Okay, so why participate? Well, your observations are important because no single scientist or team of scientists could hope to capture so much information about birds around the world in only 4 days. Each year, tens of thousands of people submit checklists reporting many millions of birds. Your information provides a long-term record of how bird populations may be changing over time. Make sure your birds are represented by counting for them. And it's actually a lot of fun. You can look at this map, and it's pretty data is getting entered in real time, and you can click into anywhere on the map, really specific. You can look at a whole state. You can look for other, people have little competitions. So what's Homer doing? How many observations has Homer gotten in? Or you can even look specifically for a bird. How many murres are being counted on the Pacific coast? It's really dynamic the way they've got this data to be used and viewed. So many times with these types of projects, you collect data and you give it to the scientists, and then maybe you'll get a little card 6 months down the road that'll tell you, what your participation meant. But this, you can do it like almost immediately. So every sighting is reported, becomes part of a permanent record that anyone with internet can explore. And you can even use the information to track migration patterns and year-to-year changes in abundance and distribution of birds, and learn about the complex patterns of bird movements. You can even look for trends to indicate how well birds are faring in the face of environmental changes such as urbanization, global climate change, and disease. So now let's look at how to count birds. So it's very important that we count all birds the same way so our information is consistent. You can count at any location for at least 15 minutes, but you can do it as long as you like, but at least 15 minutes in any one location. So you're going to keep track of the total amount of time you spend watching and roughly how far you've walked or you spent hiking. So you're going to make your best estimate of the number of individuals of each species you see. So for instance, if you're watching at a feeder and you see 3 chickadees, then 4 chickadees, then 1 chickadee, you would report them as how many chickadees you think?
4.
Of course, shouldn't let them answer, they know how to do
What
this.
do you say, 4?
4, right, because the other ones that you saw could have flown around in a circle and come back.
The most you see at one time.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, so it's very similar to,
You don't have to stay in one spot, you can be walking for 15 minutes, huh?
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And so it's very similar to the way we count for the Christmas bird count. Okay. So you're going to create a separate checklist for each day. Okay. And you're going to submit a separate checklist for each new location, even if it's on the same day. So I might, in the morning, I might spend an hour watching my bird feeder and write all those species that I see. And then in the afternoon, I'm going to go take a walk. And I'll count every bird that I see on that walk, and then I'll count how far I'm going to go on my walk and the time I've spent doing it. Okay.
No car routes, is it all foot?
I've been car birding
Oh, yeah.
on particularly nasty days, absolutely. Have scope, have car, will travel. Right. Okay. All right, so when you're ready to report your results, you go to the Great Backyard Bird Count website at birdcount.org, and you're going to click on the Submit Observations tab on the home page. Okay. If you're new to the count or you haven't participated since 2013, you'll be first asked to create a free Great Backyard Bird Count account. What to say? And you can't say GBBC any easier. So if you already have an account for the GBBC eBird or another Cornell Citizen Science project, you could use that same username and password to log in. You don't have to create a new account. Unless you haven't created an account since 2013, then you do. Okay. So when you're ready to enter your checklists, okay, and you've signed into your account, you'll be asked, where did you bird? This is where you map the exact location of where you were counting. If you've done the count before, you can choose a site you've already mapped from the drop-down menu where it says Select from My Locations. If you're watching at a new location or participating for the first time, click Find It on a Map. On the next screen, shown here on the lower right, you'll fill out your country, state, or province and choose your country from the drop-down menu. Participants in the U.S., Canada, Mexico must enter their state or province. Okay. So when the map comes up, you zoom to your location or type in the address in the search bar that runs along the top edge of the map. When the map is zoomed into your location, you can left-click your mouse on your birding spot. You'll see a large green marker which will drop at your birding location, then it turns blue. Position the marker if needed to get that accuracy pinpoint. And when the site is marked, a space will show in the right column where you'll name your location so you can choose it again for future checklists. Make the name something you will recognize, but does not give an exact address or person's name because location titles are shown on maps that others can see. So just remember everything that you enter, other than your personal login, stuff, is all open for anyone to see. Okay. So the red markers you see are e-birding hotspots set up by other bird watchers, and you can use them as your location if you were counting birds there. Next step, the date and effort page. This is where you tell us which date the checklist is for and the type of count you did. You choose traveling if you were walking or driving around. See, you can drive, Milo, it says it right here in print. If you're driving, please break down the route into segments with the same habitat, preferably 5 miles in length or less, and submit a separate checklist for each segment. Choose stationary if you stayed in one place, perhaps watching feeders from a window. Choose incidental if you're reporting birds while you were doing something else, driving to work perhaps, and watching birds was not your primary activity. I mean, I don't know about you, but I totally bird when I'm going to the store, coming home from work. So absolutely, you can even put your signings down on it. This is so great. This is why I love it. It's like, just count birds and tell us. After you choose the type of count you did, you'll see additional spaces open up lower on the page. This is where you mark the time you started, how much total time you spent counting, and how many people contributed to the checklist, and the distance covered if it was a traveling count. When putting in your birding start time, put hours in the first box and minutes in the second. Remember to choose AM or PM from the small drop-down menu. Now you're on the bird list page, showing the species that are likely to be seen in your area in February. There are several tools and options in the light blue column on the right side of the bird list page. You can look for a species in the list using Jump to Species search bar at the top. You may change the list from taxonomic to alphabetical order and show or hide rare species and subspecies. If a bird you saw does not appear on the main checklist, click the Show Rarities option. If the species still isn't there, go to Add Species, type the name, and add it to your list. If you're participating from a country outside the US, I don't think that'll happen, you can actually set a language. You can click Preferences to set your preferred language, and you can also search by its scientific Latin name. So what I like to do is you can actually go in and you could print out a checklist, and you can do it a couple of different ways. You can print out just a really general checklist. Basically, you put your information on the front and you can write each species as you see it on the back. Or what I like to do is I go choose Chugach National Forest as my location, and I print out, it's actually a common species list in common names of the Chugach National Forest birds. And then and this goes out in the rain with me, whatever, and gets all crumpled up, and then I come home later and I can enter it, go into this and enter it in. Unless you're like one of those fancy people that have like a waterproof iPad that they can take out there and do. Yeah.
There's no such thing as a truly waterproof iPad.
That's true. And you've tested that theory.
Yeah. Good point about that, too.
Can you do this on your phone?
I bet you can.
Yeah.
I bet you can.
Certainly with Wi-Fi, you get the same thing
Mhm.
with the data.
Okay, so. All right, losing which number I'm on here. Slide 16, okay. As soon as you enter a number next to a species, you'll see a small Add Details button appear to the right of the bird name. No, that's, yep, Add Details, there we go. Clicking that button opens additional space for you to add information about the sighting if you wish. This is especially important if you're reporting something rare or in unusually high numbers. In other words, you better be able to back it up. Okay. Use this section to add notes on how you identified the bird and even upload a digital image with your checklist. A photo is very helpful in confirming a rare sighting. Photos uploaded with checklists become part of the Cornell Lab's Macaulay Library.
Macaulay.
Thank you. He said library, digital archive, and also remain embedded in your checklist. All right, if you enter a species or a number of birds that is unusual, you will get a message in a yellow bar at the top of the page asking you to fix the item. Hopefully that won't come with a DEFCON 3 alarm. If you're sure about the sighting and have added comments supporting it, click the green Complete button. Your report will go to a great backyard bird count eBird data reviewer, such as Aaron. Isn't he a data reviewer?
Yeah, he's the filter, and then there's another filter in Juneau that pretty much handles all the South.
So Aaron will hunt you down and make sure you knew what you were talking about. Okay. This is a normal part of the process. They put that in bold letters.
Don't be offended.
I love that. You may even be contacted by a reviewer to confirm the sighting. This is just one of the ways we make sure the data is accurate. If the reviewer validates the sighting, then it will then be added to the database. In the lower right-hand corner of the bird list page, you are required to check whether you are submitting a complete checklist of all the birds you are able to identify. The only time you'll select no is if you are deliberately excluding some species from your list. For example, if you counted everything other than crows or gulls, or another subspecies, who wants to count those damn crows? Otherwise, click yes to indicate you're including everything you could identify. Click yes even if you saw some birds you could not identify. Then click the green submit button. You'll see a confirmation page where you can review the list you submitted. If something isn't right, use the small edit buttons to the right of each entry to edit your checklist. If you want a copy of your report, click email yourself at the top right. If you are birding with a friend and want them to be able to add the list to their Great Backyard Bird Count eBird account, click share with others in your party. The checklists that you share this way will be included in your friend's personal observations. Birds shared on your list at the same location will not be counted more than once. If you just want to share your list with somebody who is not birding with you, copy the web address at the top of your checklist and email that. You'll see an ID number in the address. If you have other checklists to enter, you can do so from the confirmation page using the links on the right. Oh, I've skipped ahead, I'm sorry. If you have other questions, or want to know how to create an account, enter or explore data, there's a facts page and a help section, and there's all sorts of good stuff. So let's go take a look at the webpage. Yeah. Oh, what's going on here? Does it take a second for it to... Why did it do that?
Oh, it didn't close on the
Yeah,
screen, but it
yeah.
closed on your laptop?
Yes, let me just close the PowerPoint out. There we go. No, still not what I want. What's that? There we go. Okay, so here's the website. Great. So when you go, I typed in birdsource.org, but it automatically directs you to that web address, but it is birdsource.org. So you've got all these tabs up here. You can learn a whole lot of history in this one, launched in 1998. And you can check out photo contest winners. Milo, have you ever entered?
Yep.
Okay. You can get flyers and social media images such as what Arissa used for us tonight. Okay. So this is where you get going here. The Great Gray Owl dice photo choice. So you can just scroll down and you can create your account just by clicking into there. And then there's your helps, your facts. You can download a PDF data form, which is what I do. You even can get some birding ID help here, which is great. So let's look at bird lists. So you can just go in here, so you can even get different languages. So you can either go to that bird tool, or you can even do the bird checklists. That's like if you're in Canada, it would be real helpful. Okay, so I just go. You can put in. Let's just put in Cordova. Let's see if it pulls up the Chugach National Forest. So there it is. Or you can go, I bet it's the same one. And get it that way. So,
Cool.
yeah, just print that off. Okay. So then go back, and then when you're ready to submit your observations, go to this tab. And I
Which
did-
tab did you click on for the list here again? Sorry.
Yeah. Whoops.
Just
had these up in different tabs, sorry. So, right here, so you're gonna go to get started, and then you're gonna scroll down, and go right here to your bird lists. And this optional data form is just this really simple one. The optional data form is just this really blank, basically a blank one.
Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Alright, page up. Alright, so here, I actually need to create a new account, so I didn't think ahead. Oops, I went to the wrong one. Otherwise, I would have signed in and showed you how to do it. But it's pretty simple to go and create yourself an account. It doesn't take long. Basically, you're just giving your basic credentials. And then this is the fun part, the explore data. This is where you could really see some really cool things. Come on. Is it loading? There it goes. Okay. So, pick a bird. Let's find out. Somebody give me a bird. Black-throated, is that what you said?
We get a lot of those. We know where you've been. It's been in the desert.
And so this is totally all linked into Google Maps, and you can just click in. And so each one of these squares is a data point, and the darker the square is, the more frequent that bird has been sighted. And so there's so many layers to this data, it just gets crazy. What you could look at, and then we can go back and we can say, how about, let's look at Cordova, Alaska.
I think you just have to use Alaska.
Okay. Well, this is the main region one. Okay, so they've made this even bigger. This is the last time I've seen it, so go here. And then, so you can look up, it even tells you who made the sighting. We can look up by counties. So here we are. Look at all trace sightings, Drew.
Cool.
Yep. And then it even has an interactive map. So this right here is really fun. The map room. You can choose a year and a species. So let's look at what we did in, is 2012 the highest I can go into the map room? I guess so. Alright, so let's look. America, can we go, let's say, Pacific? Oh, there was an Alaska, Canada. There. View. And notice you can even compare maps as well. Whoops. It's not letting me do it. Why not? I did something wrong.
2012 was before Google Maps came out, I think. Before Mary included.
Huh. Well, phooey on you for not letting me do what I wanted to do. Anyways, you can have a lot of fun playing on this thing.
I use
You can go.
eBird, iNaturalist, and other databases like that before I go on a trip. If I want to find something, like I went to Arizona this summer, and I wanted to find a sidewinder rattlesnake. iNaturalist has everything in it, you know, more than just birds, and you can get data points and look for clusters, you know, where they're more likely to be found than other places, and then circle your maps, and I found.
And there were a cluster of snakes standing right.
Yeah.
That's great. I like to watch the submission map, this one here. So that week, you know, starting the first day up until, you know, they give you until like a month to enter your data. You just can watch how things get populated, and then you can even click into any of the data and see a little bit more closely. So has anybody else ever done this count before? I'm the only one who's done it. It's so much fun. So I hope you guys go and do it. Take a friend. Are those hot spots? What are these yellow?
New entries?
Yeah, because the numbers going
Oh,
up.
yeah. So these are entries of the January. Yeah.
Wow.
That's happening right now?
Yeah, like on the top right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's crazy.
Wow.
So it's pretty. They saw an owl. Yeah.
I mean, they're just putting their checklist.
Yeah, so this has got to be eBird checklist, because obviously the Great Backyard Bird Count isn't going on at the moment. But so this is a really fun site, and I hope you guys get to do this. And do you have any questions?
So the big backyard, the BBC, that's just a 3 days.
Yep.
But this bird count website goes on like 24/7.
Yeah, eBird. This is linked in with eBird now. So.
Oh, I see. So it's on that top bar there, powered by eBird. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
eBird's gotten pretty powerful, but the Great Backyard Bird Count started before eBird, and I'd love to talk to Aaron because I bet he knows. I bet eBird was kind of born out of this.
Could have been.
Yeah.
One thing I do on my accounts when I'm out of Whiteshed is I generally record the weather, whether it's overcast or clear or rainy or snowy, and then I also record the tide stage, which is pretty important if you're doing shorebird counts because they tend to peak on like a 7-foot falling tide. So in the comments section, I'll always add that.
Yep. Well, thanks for coming and sharing in my bird count obsession.
Yeah.